Hello everyone and welcome to a step-by-step socks knitting tutorial. My name is Evgeniya and I will guide you through every stitch so you can knit the socks even if you're a complete beginner. This tutorial is completely free and there is no PDF or charts, so if you want to knit the socks, you will need to follow through entire video. If you would like to express some gratitude for this tutorial happening, I will be extremely glad to see your comments and your thumbs up right under the video. And if you want to do more than that, you can buy me a coffee through the link down below, and you can use any of my affiliate links to get yourself some wonderful yarns. I called these socks Braidy ribbed socks since they feature thick irregular rib pattern and delicate braids to go along the socks. I found it to be a perfect balance between simplicity and a special design. If for some reason you start to knit the sock and it's too small for you, you can of course add some extra stitches to these thick ribs on your own. And if you're a complete beginner and you don't want to mess up with adding stitches, I would just suggest to pick thicker yarn and you will automatically get a bigger sock size. The socks are knit cuff down, featuring a strong heel construction, and at the bottom of the foot section we only have the stockinette, which makes it even easier and nicer to knit right after the heel. I knit my socks all the time with flexible double-pointed needles. In this case, I'm using 2mm needles and a sport weight yarn. My choice was Rosari's form Meia. It is 70% extra fine merino wool and 30% nylon. You can use any sport weight sock yarn, just my advice would be to avoid alpaca content, so the ribbing will be firm and consistent. Now we're finally ready to start. Let's measure approximately 35 centimeters of yarn and begin by casting on 65 stitches on one needle with a German twisted cast on method. Go under the right loop, grab the inner thread, slowly rotate your thumb and grab a second thread. And our second stitch is ready. Now we repeat the sequence. We'll go right under the loop, we're grabbing the inner thread, rotating the thumb, grabbing a second thread, and knitting through that. I will meet you when I have 65 stitches on my needle. The next step is we need to transfer 33 stitches on the second needle. And now we need to connect the work in the round. I'm making sure my cast on edge is one even round without any twists or problems. It has to be one beautiful circle. And the second thing to check is that we got 33 stitches on the left needle and 32 stitches on the right needle. Now bring the stitches to the tips of the needles and pick the third needle. Let's carefully remove one stitch from the right needle, transfer it to the left one, and pull it over another one on the left needle. We'll kind of decrease a stitch on the left needle. After you're done with this, let's return the stitch back onto the right needle. Let's place a marker in between the needles. It will indicate the beginning of each round. Finally, we're ready to knit the sock. The first round is tight and uncomfortable. That's completely normal. It will get way easier and nicer very soon. We're knitting now row number 1, purl 1, knit 4, purl 1, knit 5, purl 1, knit 8, purl 1, knit 5, purl 1, knit 4. Purl 1. We knitted our first 32 stitches and it is exactly half of the sock. And now we're repeating the same thing for the second half. Purl 1, knit 4. Purl 1, knit 5. Purl 1, knit 8. Purl 1, knit 5. Purl 1, knit 4. Purl 1. Now knit 8 more rows just like this one in the same exact way. After that, we're going to do a cable row together. The first cabling will happen on the 10th row and then we will cable on every 9th row. I will show you everything. For now, just repeat row number 1 8 more times and I will see you after. Now we will make a cable row. Purl 1. Then transfer 2 next stitches on the right needle. Knit the next 2 stitches on the left needle. Now insert the left needle in the stitches that you slipped before through the front of your work and carefully switch the needle behind the work, holding the stitches so they don't unravel, just like that. Knit the next 2 stitches on the left needle. Perfect. This is how we do our left leaning cable. Now keep on knitting as the stitches show until 5 stitches are left on the needle. Now we will do right leaning cable with these 4 knit stitches. Transfer all 4 stitches onto the right needle. Insert the needle in the first 2 stitches behind your work. Now carefully switch the needles while holding the stitches so we don't lose them. And place the rest of the stitches on the left needle. Now let's knit through all these 4 stitches. And we have our right leaning cable done. Purl 1. Now half of the round is knit and we repeat the same sequence again. Purl 1. Transfer 2 next stitches on the right needle. Knit the next 2 stitches on the left needle. Insert the left needle in the stitches that you slipped before at the front of your work and carefully switch the needle behind the work. Knit the next 2 stitches on the left needle. We just made our left leaning cable again. Now we keep on knitting as the stitches show until 5 stitches are left on the needle. Again, we transfer all these 4 stitches on the right needle. Insert the left needle into the first 2 stitches behind your work. Now carefully switch the needle while holding the stitches so we don't lose them, and place the rest of them on the left needle. Now knit through all these 4 stitches. And purl 1. We did all 4 cables now, and now it's easy to see where we have the cables and where we have just normal stitch pattern. What we do next is we keep on knitting our cables. So we do 8 rows without any cables, just as the stitches show, and then we cable on every 9th row until you're happy with the length of the cuff. I am now done with my cuff, and my last row was the cable row. We're about to start forming our gusset. It is the triangle formed with these beautiful increases. The longer and deeper the triangle, the more space we'll get for the feet and for the foot arch. Now let's start our gusset. First, let's move the marker of the beginning of the round. I will put now a different shape and different color because I will need my red marker for the heel. I suggest using 2 different colors of markers. It will be easier to navigate through the increases. Now we begin by just knitting as the stitches show, just simply placing all the markers. Knit all the stitches on the left needle as the stitches show. And place the marker right in between 2 purls. It may fall off the needle, that's fine, we'll deal with that in just in a minute. And now let's knit another half of the sock, placing the marker right after we knit the last stitch. Now we need to do a manipulation for our markers to not fall and for the gusset to form correctly. We only need to transfer 2 stitches. So the first one is this purl from the front of the needle. We need to place it onto the back needle. The marker should be still in between those 2 purl stitches. And now let's steal another purl stitch from the front needle and also place it back at the second needle. Again, making sure the marker is in between those 2 purl stitches. Now we're finally ready to form our gussets with the increases. Let's do row number 1 together. Knit as stitches show until the marker. And make 1 left leaning increase. Now we increase to 1 stitch. Let's keep on knitting as the stitches show. Purl 1, knit 4, purl 1, and so on until we reach the marker. Now we're going to make it a bit different. So we're making right leaning increase right before the marker. One stitch was just increased. Purl 1. So you see on the left of the sock, we're increasing after the marker. And on the right side of your sock, we're doing it before the marker. Now the second row is very simple. We just knit as stitches show, slipping all the markers. I will just in case do it with you right now. Let's reach until the marker. Knit through our new stitch that we formed before, and keep on following the pattern until the next marker. You see here we have again our new stitch that we formed before, and let's also knit through it. Then slip the marker and purl 1. Now for beginners here, I would like to knit one more increase round to make sure everything is clear and you understand how to do the gusset. Let's knit as the stitches show until the first marker. Slip the marker. You see, this is the new stitch that we formed before, and now we need to make a left leaning increase right after the marker. Done. Let's reach to the next marker. And now a right leaning increase before the marker. Slip the marker and purl. Perfect. Now we did one more increase round. The next round will be knit as the stitches show, slipping all the marker. So now repeat row number 1 and row number 2 6 more times until we have 17 increases in total. It is very easy to count and see how many increases we did. Here you see these little knit stitches that pop from the sides. These are our increases that we did before. And the last row of our gusset formation will be knit as the stitches show without increases. Also, don't forget to cable on every 9th row as you go. And of course, we're following the rest of the stitch pattern. So now we finished our increases and I'm right at the beginning of the round. This marker indicates the beginning of the round. And all of these increases were happening on the second needle, so we have them all formed beautifully. It was not easy, I know. It was a bit tedious to knit the last increases. So you see this last purl stitch on the right needle, we need to undo it, unravel it and transfer back on the left needle, return it, because remember, we stole it just not so long time ago. And on the other side, we just move stitches to the tips of the needles and transfer the purl stitch from the back of the heel to the front of the sock. Also, let's transfer again our marker to indicate the beginning of the round. Let's remove it from where it was and place right after the purl stitch and the beginning of the round. So now we're ready to start knitting our heel formation, and for this I'm just taking my third needle and I knit as the stitches show all the way, including the last purl stitch on the left needle. So now we're going to work only here and the back of the sock, back and forth. But before we do that, let's place the marker. So take any marker and place it right in between these stitches that are at the back. For this, I had to count how many stitches I have in total, divided by 2, and place the marker right in between. In my case, it's 33 stitches, the marker, and another 33 stitches. And then we need again 2 more markers of a different color and place them 3 stitches aside on the right and 3 stitches aside on the left. Perfect. Right after we're done with that, we can remove this middle marker. We don't need this anymore. Alright, so now let's begin. We're going to only knit and purl. So knit on the right side and purl on the wrong side. No more stitch pattern anymore. We're now at the beginning of our heel and we need to knit all the stitches up to the second marker. I'm knitting all the way reaching the first marker, then I'm just simply slipping it. And I keep on knitting until I reach the second marker. Now I'm again slipping the second marker. I'm knitting one more stitch. And at this point, I'm turning my work to the wrong side. And we're going to purl all the way again to the second marker. We will always slip our first stitch, and I suggest that you tie it up. We reach the second marker, we slip it again, and purl one more. Now turn the work to the right side. And at this point, let's remove our markers. We don't need them anymore. Instead, our indicators are going to be those gaps, and I will now show what to do with them. So on the right side, the working thread is behind the work. Slip the first stitch, tie up, and knit all the way until one stitch before the gap. And I need to connect the gap, so I will just knit these two stitches together. And then knit one more. Turn the work to the wrong side. Now let's do the same on the wrong side. Slip in the first stitch, purling all the way to one stitch before the gap. And now we need to purl two together, but we're not going to simply purl them in a traditional way. We're going to do a little manipulation. Slip one stitch purlwise to the right needle, slip another one, and turn this second stitch so that the loop is looking upwards. Then place the first stitch back onto the left needle, purl them from the right side, from the bottom of the right side, together. So after we knit two together and purl two together, we always need to do one more stitch. Turn the work to the right side. At this point, you just repeat what I showed, going back and forth until you decrease all of the stitches. And I will meet you when I have left only one stitch on each side. Alright, I finished all of my decreases and I'm right now on my right side, so I am just about to knit one more row and decrease the last stitches. Let's do it together. As usually, we slip the first stitch, tying it up a bit and then knitting all the way until the end of the round. And these last two stitches we just knit two together. And that's it, we finished all of the stitches. At this point, we just turn the work again to the wrong side. And we do one more purl row to decrease the last two purl stitches. Slip the first stitch as usually and purl all the way to the end of the row. And just as before, we're flipping the stitches upwards. And purling them together from the bottom of the right side. Now turn the work again to the right side, and we're now done with our heel. Right now, let's knit all the way back to the marker, but there is a hole in between the marker and the heel itself. So I will show you what we do to avoid this hole. Right now, let's knit all the stitches on the left needle, leaving only one stitch unknitted. So now we have only one stitch left unknitted, and you see there is a hole right behind the stitch. So to avoid it, let's do the following manipulation. Slip this knit stitch onto the right needle. Now grab the loop of the knit stitch that is placed right below this stitch. This knit stitch is placed right in between this gap. Place it on the left needle. Place the first slipped stitch back onto the left needle as well, and now we just knit them two together. Now we're completely done with our heel. We can keep on knitting in the round just like we did in our cuff. The only difference is that we have stockinette on the back of the foot and the stitch pattern at the front of the foot. However, there is one more hole we need to fix. It is right here, and I'll show you also how to fix it. Now let's knit all the way to the last purl stitch on the left needle. Alright, now we have only one purl stitch left, and what we're going to do is similar manipulation that we did before. Slip this purl stitch onto the right needle. Again, find the loop of the knitted stitch placed right below. It is seen right in the middle of this hole. Place it onto the left needle. Slip the purl stitch back onto the left needle and simply purl them two together. Perfect. Now we have avoided the hole and it looks very beautiful. Now relax and enjoy knitting in the round, not forgetting to cable on every 9th row, and of course doing the stitch pattern at the front of the foot. This process is going to be even faster than the cuff because we have stockinette section at the bottom of the foot. So the length of this section should be covering your pinky. The moment when it covers your pinky, you're ready to stop. And the row I'm going to meet you is the 5th row after your last cable. Alright, right now I finished all of my cables. I stopped in the 5th row right after my last cable. The sock at this point is covering my pinky toe. And at this point we're going to start our toe decreases. For this, let's first of all move the beginning of the round. We're placing it in the middle between the purl stitch and the knit stitch at the back of the foot. Now we're ready to start knitting. At the right needle I have all of the knit stitches completely, and on my left needle I have only the stitch pattern from one purl stitch to another purl stitch. So let's do row number 1 together. Purl 1, slip the next stitch knitwise, slip another stitch knitwise, place a stitch back on the needle, opening the loop, knit through the back loop, and pull the first stitch from the right needle over the second one. Perfect. Now we did a left leaning decrease and we're ready to keep on knitting. Just knit as the stitches show all the way until you have 3 stitches left on the needle, 2 knit stitches and 1 purl. So now we have 2 knit stitches and 1 purl left, and we need to make a right leaning decrease. Just knit them 2 together. And purl 1. Amazing. On the back of the foot we're repeating the same thing. Let's do it. Knit 1, slip a stitch knitwise, slip another one the same way, place 1 stitch back onto the needle, opening the loop, knit through the back loop and pull the first stitch over another one. Another left leaning decrease is done. Now knit all the way until you have 3 stitches left on the needle and make a right leaning decrease, knit 2 together. And knit 1. Perfect, that was our decrease round. The next round is going to be just knit as the stitches show. For beginners, I will just show how we're doing it. It is optional to place the markers if you want, and I do suggest to do that for beginners. Let's put first marker before our left leaning decrease. Now second marker goes right after the right leaning decrease. Next markers for the left leaning decrease, and we're putting it before the decrease. And the last marker is again right leaning decrease. We're putting the marker right after the decrease. And now let's knit our second row without any decreases, just knit as the stitches show. Purl 1, and knit through the decreased stitch right here. Keep on knitting and purling all the stitches on the needle. You see, this one was also our net stitch. We also simply knit through it. And we keep doing the same on the second needle. Just knit all of the stitches. Perfect, we finished our second row. And now we need to repeat row number 1 and 2 more times. So in total we have 6 rounds. 1 decrease, 1 without, 1 decrease, 1 without, 1 decrease, 1 without. So 6 rows in total, and I will meet you there. Well, I finished all of my 6 rows, as you can see. So you see I have decrease, not, decrease, not, decrease, not. So now what we do is decrease rounds all the time without any middle rounds. So decrease, 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 just like row number 1, until we have 14 stitches at the first needle and 16 stitches at the second needle. It is normal to have 2 different amount of stitches on the needles, but we're going to fix it later. Perfect, I finished my decreases and now I have 14 stitches at my front needle where we had the stitch pattern going on, and I have 16 stitches at the back of my needle where the stockinette section is. And now I need to make sure I have even amount of stitches before we can do the Kitchener stitch to actually finish our sock. To even the amount of stitches, we need to transfer just 2 stitches from the back of the needle to the front, and we will have 14 stitches on each needle. For this, we're just transferring from the left needle to the right 1 net stitch, just like that. Perfect. And on the other side where we have a working thread, we need to do a little manipulation again. So we need to simply undo our last stitch on the right needle. We see we just knitted it, and we simply insert the left needle in the bottom net stitch, carefully unraveling it, and this way we're having it on our left needle. Great, so now we're ready to do our Kitchener stitch. For this, we need to make sure stitches are nice and even next to each other. I cut my yarn approximately at 25-30 centimeters, and I insert the thread into the simple tapestry needle. Now let's do the Kitchener stitch. Move all of the stitches to the tips of the needle, insert the needle knitwise from the outside of the sock, and slip from the needle. Now insert into the next stitch from the inside of the sock and leave it on the needle. Pull the thread. Now let's do the same on the other side. Insert it from the outside knitwise and slip from the needle. Insert into the next stitch from the inside of the sock and leave it on the needle. Pull the thread. Now let's repeat the sequence. From the outside, slip. From the inside and leave on the needle and pull the thread. Again on the other side, from the outside, slip. From the inside, leave on the needle and pull the thread. Great, I usually tie up a little bit in the seam so it looks nice and knit. And you keep on repeating the same sequence over and over again until you have 2 stitches left on the needle. I will meet you there. And we're doing the same exact manipulation. And usually here is a little bit of a messy moment and we need to figure out how to nicely hide it. At this moment we can improvise a bit, but usually what I do is I tie up the stitches and I insert the needle into the decrease stitch that follows along the toe. Just like that. And when I'm done with that, I can see how it looks from the inside out. Carefully pull in the needle without damaging the stitches. Perfect. And then the final check, I will again turn it to the right side and see if I actually like the result. If I don't like the result, there were cases that I would just go back a little bit and change it. But at this point, I'm really happy how it ended up. It looks quite neat, and after the blocking, it will be even better. Well, I'm extremely happy with these socks, how they ended up. I like both versions, the brown version and the pink version. I even imagined these socks in the black color and they seemed beautiful to me. So I hope you truly enjoy wearing these socks and you will end up needing more for yourself and for the people that you appreciate. I will be very grateful for your feedback and for the experience on how it was to follow the tutorial. It was my first one, so maybe it wasn't perfect, of course, and it could be better, but I did what I could, I did my best, and I personally love how it ended up. Also, if you're new here, I encourage you to check my other videos on the channel. I have a lot of pattern roundups, interesting, inspiring videos, knitting vlogs, knitting podcasts. I do videos about yarn. I have series that are called Yarn Nerd Series. Check them out as well. Overall, thank you very much for being here and I'm hoping to see you soon in my next video.